Hello, hello, Saggy Joe. So, been a while. I wanted to talk about the whole situation with Melo and his quote unquote controversy with the number of that Jokic wears. Now, I don't really want to play any clips at the risk of being copyright striked, but basically, um, Melo has his yes man with him and is always agreeing with Melo. How Melo feels disrespected at the number 15 was even a number that was given out to anyone to play in it, right? And it's kind of like a slap in the face because he wants his jersey retired, and now that there's really literally no chance for him to have his jersey retired because people are just gonna find out that the person who wore the number is a much better player and actually wanted to stay in Denver. I think that's the biggest thing that people have to consider, especially Melo. I think he's capping. I think I think I think he's trying to look for content just to be controversial, so people could be attracted to his podcast. But former players don't always make the best analysts. You know, journal report journalists also don't make the best analysis. If anything, the quality of YouTubers that are out there that do an analysis is a lot better. But but I digress. Just going back to the topic of Melo. I love Melo. Denver Melo was one of my favorite players. Even back then, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way how he left. I guess it's because it reminded me of how Vince Carter left. And I kind of get the idea, hey, you let go of the core that we had that just made the Western Conference Finals. Why would I want to stick around? It's clear that you're going for a rebuild, so I don't want to be here. But Melo, you forcing yourself out all the way into Brooklyn, uh, Brooklyn, the Knicks, really wasn't. It really was not a very good look. And plus, no matter where you've gone, you have been you are Melo is a borderline superstar talent. If not, at times he was a superstar. He could take over games. Had a sweet mid range game when it was going. Had a decent post game as well. But the issue with Anthony was with Melo is he never really learned to play make well. Um, his shot, his 3 point shot, I think he should have used a bit more. I think he could have been a bit of a off ball player. He knew how to cut to the rim, and he did do that quite a few times. I just think that if he had a better diet of catch and shoots and drives to the baskets and cuts, receiving the pass while he's moving down into the paint, it may not necessarily be a cut, but having that opening, and maybe he never had the point guard that could do that for him. That's another thing. I think that 09 year he had Billups was probably the best point guard he's played with up to the point. But I just think that Melo had his chances, and you can give context. You can say, hey, the West was very difficult at the time, right? And Melo did bleed the number 15 for a while. There's no denying that. But when you force your way out, and it's not even like it's not even Melo had the it's not even Jokic had the 15 right after. Anthony Randolph wore it. I think he was part of the trade, was he not? 2013, 14, the trade 2009. Anthony Randolph, I think, came from Denver. And he wore the number 15. Oh, came from Denver. Yeah, he went to Denver. That's what he's wearing, dumbass. Anyways, um, he wore the number 15 for a while, and I don't think he returned that season. Pretty sure he would play the rest of his career in the EuroLeague. I'm not entirely sure. And then you have Jokic. In theory, they would have been nobodies, and there would have been no problem giving your number out because your number would have been the more successful one. Like you would have been the more successful player on that number because Jokic really was. And at the end of the day, Denver can't say all at once how they found a diamond in the rough, but yeah, let's be real. Not many people, including the NBA itself, believed in Jokic. So there was a very big probability. We're saying, yeah, hey, have the number. If you pan out, cool. If not, maybe we'll give Melo the number. And I think Melo forgets that Denver has a storied history. I can't remember if they were part of the original ABA, but they do have an NBA team dating to the 70s. They had David Thompson, one of the premier guards in the league before. As Stephen A. puts it, he was on crack. Yeah, before crack really took away all his potential and everything that he had. And after the 70s, then you had Alex English for the 80s. You had Kiki Vanderway. Basically, the way that team plays right now in Denver is how the Pacers are playing right now. You know what I mean? It's kind of cool to see that similarities. I wouldn't say it's exactly the same thing. I think the Pacers play with a little bit more, just a little bit more organized, and they do have a lot of threats. Everyone can shoot threes on that team. A lot of the players that play are able to shoot threes, and the ones that don't are able to take advantage in transition. And they have a very good point guard in Halliburton who just opens up the offense. He's the reason why this team just plays so well. And then you move from the 80s to the 90s. You had the We Believe Nuggets team that upset the Sonics in 5 games with Dikembe Mutombo. Man, that Sonics team kind of underperforms sometimes. I'll be honest. You have GP, you have Sean Kemp, you have a good setup. You have a good lineup. Like I feel like that team kind of underperformed every now and then, but I think that's a topic for another day. Yeah, so Dikembe Mutombo, I wouldn't say he was a superstar, but he definitely made his presence known as a defensive anchor in Denver, and you hit the 2000s, you have Melo. So Denver, relatively speaking, has had some successful seasons and a consistent stream of success as well. They never really made it all the way to the finals, unfortunately, around those times. I'm pretty sure they're 1-1 right now. So, that's something to consider. And, unfortunately for Melo, Jokic turned out to be a beast of a player. And I'm sorry, he's going to be the one that's going to be remembered on number 15. You had your chance, and you wanted to go away. When Jokic had it rough, when the media scrutinized him, he stuck to it, just got better, does his job. The front office, to their credit, has done a phenomenal job of surrounding Jokic with the proper pieces, right? But everything begins and ends with Jokic, and you can really see the difference between a player who is willing to play make and a player who play makes when it's the last thing that they can do. Melo was a very good player. He made his team better, but Jokic makes his teammates better. And because of that, you might be tricked into thinking that the team is not very good. But when you have someone who can really maximize and optimize everyone's skill set, the way that Jokic does, and the way with Mike Malone coaches and everything like that, his sets and his plays are also very good. You have players who are always engaged, and maybe they might seem like they're coasting for the season, but once it becomes the playoffs, they're all playoff risers. I swear to God, every single player on that team, their stats just bump up during the playoffs. They all just play better, and that's just a testament to importance of playmaking. Melo, I actually don't think he'd find too much success in today's NBA because while he might be a more prolific scorer, I could see Melo scoring about 34, 35 points per game. Based on his game, it's possible. I'm not going to say that's exactly what's going to happen, but it's possible if he played the 4, played a little bit more catch and shoot, he reserved his energy a little bit more. I think he definitely could have averaged at least close to 30. I think he did do that for one season for the Nuggets. I can't remember, but because he doesn't play make, a lot of people will point out, hey, you kind of get empty 30s. You know what I mean? People say that about Zach LaVine's. I think he averages something like, last time I checked, something like 24 points per game or something like that. I should really fact check that, but I'm kind of just going off the top of my head. And a lot of people call that an empty 24 because it's 24 points, but on inefficient shooting or on awkward shots or bad shot selection. It's not really in the flow of the offense. A lot of people say a lot of things, and me personally, I think Levine is a very good. He's a very good spot up shooter. He's a very good cutter. I just don't think that he does that enough to warrant people's more positive criticism. But when you lose, you tend to get criticized a lot more than when you win. So who am I to say? Anyways, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much. Later days.